All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Raul Cepeda. I'm with Barcodes Inc. here. On behalf of Barcodes and Zebra, I'd like to thank you all for attending our webinar today on using hands-free technology to take mobility to the next level. We know your time's precious, and we hope you gain some valuable insights today into our Fulfillment Edge and heads-up display solutions that we'll be going over. We do have a Q&A feature available on this webinar, so feel free to send us any questions along the way, and we'll address them towards the end as time allows. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Andrew Pierce, Zebra's Senior Product Manager. Andrew?
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for attending today. As mentioned, I am a product manager with Zebra Technologies focused on warehouse solutions, and I've been working on FulfillmentEdge and the HD4000, our head-up display, for several years now, and we're excited that that was publicly released and announced at the end of 2019, and we're starting to get that rolled out at customer sites now, and really learning a lot about the various operations. If we look at kind of where head-up display and FulfillmentEdge came from, you know, this on-demand economy has started placing a lot more demands on customers' warehouses. You know, a lot of sites used to ship full pallet to a store. You know, now they're having to open up a case and take one each out of that and ship it to a residential address potentially. You know, omni-channel fulfillment. So there's, you know, all of these challenges ultimately mean there's more orders to fill. You need to fill those in a much shorter period of time. The customer expects that to be, you know, picked and shipped same day in as little as an hour. But as a result, there's also many more returns coming back into the facility. You know, a lot of people are ordering one of each size to see which one fits and return the rest and those types of things. And so there's a lot of challenges around dealing with that inflow of single packaged returns. And then ultimately you end up having more unique products and items, which means more products coming into the facility, more shipments to put away and track. And ultimately you have to do all this with labor challenges. What we're finding is that there's labor shortages in the fulfillment space. Turnover is, you know, averages probably somewhere around 30 to 35% annual turnover in picking and fulfillment use cases. And, you know, getting that labor trained and up to speed fast before they leave is certainly a challenge. And so we came out with FulfillmentEdge, the idea being that if we start with a clean slate, take a step back and reimagine what would picking and sortation use cases look like if I design them today, understanding that I have an image in front of my eye with a head-up display and other wearable technologies such as, you know, Bluetooth ring scanners, wearable mobile devices, whether that's wrist mount and belt mounted, you know, as well as other technologies like mobile printing, locationing solutions and such. And ultimately what, you know, we were able to do with FulfillmentEdge is really take your current WMS and really, you know, transform it into, you know, a modern experience that can bring a lot of productivity increases and a lot of other benefits around accuracy and getting the most out of you know, the picking labor that you have. And ultimately, one of the things that we come to with FulfillmentEdge is that you know, we're able to, if you provide a modern, you know, intuitive and interactive mobile application, you can eliminate, you know, 90% or more of that training and onboarding time. So most of our customers have a training and onboarding time of anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and that's taking someone from, you know, their first day starting in the warehouse to when they achieve 100% productivity and the accuracy targets that the customer has laid out. So, when you look at 4 to 6 weeks, a good number of those new hires won't even survive 4 to 6 weeks. And so you end up, paying some of this labor for 2 to 4 weeks and not really getting much of a return. And so instead of measuring training onboarding in weeks, with FulfillmentEdge and the HD4000, we're measuring it in hours, at most a day, for someone to achieve the productivity goals and expectations, but doing so with other components such as accuracy being on par as well. And the other part that this impacts is seasonal workers. So again, that on-demand economy means there's a lot of seasonality throughout the year, and some of our customers are doubling their workforce during particularly the fall season usually, and they're hiring them 4 to 6 weeks before they actually need them, simply because ultimately that's the duration it takes for them to become productive when they need it. And with FulfillmentEdge, because we're eliminating that training and onboarding time, we're able to reduce the cost of that seasonal worker, hire them much closer to when you actually need them, and then when you do need them, they are more productive and more accurate than they would have elsewhere. So ultimately, how does all this work? FulfillmentEdge itself is a native Android client. It's a mobile client that runs on Zebra Android devices. And because it's running within the Zebra portfolio, it can leverage things such as all of our mobility DNA components, peripherals, and other modalities that we offer. So adapting stuff like ring scanners and head-mounted displays, that's all really straightforward to kind of bake that into FulfillmentEdge. Which means that we can look at input modalities, how do we get information into the client and control workflow? That's where stuff like barcode printing, barcode scanning and printing, voice input. Zebra has a very large portfolio of locationing and motion sensing technologies to understand, where people are and can we show them relevant information based off of that, as well as all of the RFID solutions that are available. And so the FulfillmentEdge Android client is really focused on not necessarily choosing one of these modalities, but rather for the specific task at hand, can we use the right modality to achieve the most productivity regarding that step. That Android FulfillmentEdge client communicates and connects to a FulfillmentEdge server. The server is required simply because we do optimize a lot of the pick and sortation data for presentation to the user. Because we're presenting it in a very different way than what a typical warehouse workflow would look like, that server is able to consume that data, optimize it, execute it at the edge with that mobile client, and then save that and pass that on to the WMS. And so the warehouse management system we do integrate into, we get the contextual data that we need from that WMS, whether that be location, item information, as well as obviously order and pick data, and we basically return what ultimately happened. So how was that executed? By who, those types of things, and so that we kind of stay in lockstep with the warehouse management system. In the end, FulfillmentEdge is not really the master data source. We continue to rely on the WMS to take that role and continue to do the things that it does really well. But by integrating into it, we're able to really micromanage and optimize the mobile experience and ultimately improve the overall workflow productivity and execution and extend that without being forced or having to upgrade that WMS. A lot of our customers, run legacy versions of those WMS. Many of them range from 2005, I think, is the oldest one we've worked with so far, and some of them are right up to 2020. But if a lot of our customers that have been in the 2010 to 2015 range, an upgrade of that platform is seen as very costly and risky, but they need the ability to adopt some of these new technologies and improve productivity. And ultimately, FulfillmentEdge extends and augments that WMS without really impacting it, and eliminate some of that cost and risk that they may feel they need to take on to be able to add these types of enhancements into the solution. So we have been working closely with the WMS providers on what that interface and extension looks like, so that we can bring value to our joint customers in the best way possible. One other benefit that we get with running a native Android client is the ability to capture edge data and an analytics component. A lot of our customers have labor management solutions and can tell you, who is running at 110% productivity and who's running at 60% productivity. But in the end, very few of them can tell you why. And the reason they can't tell you that is they just don't have the context and the insight into how tasks are being executed based off the tool set that they're using today. And that tool set could be anything from paper-based processes right through to Telnet terminal emulation or web-based clients. And what the native Android client brings us is the ability to capture all aspects of how that operator is going about their work. And so, pretty straightforward and simple questions, simply like, did they use the on-screen keyboard or did they scan a barcode? What pick path did they take through the warehouse? Were they using a head-up display or not? What images were they showing on the head-up display? Like, can we replay a pick if there was an accuracy challenge? Can you actually look in to see what the operator was presented and what actions they executed to understand where the issue was with that accuracy challenge? And what we're starting to do is feed a lot of this information kind of into a data lake on the FulfillmentEdge server. And that data can be shared with labor management or WMS or ERP solutions if they would be able to leverage it. But if not, we're able to start analyzing and looking at that data and start making some data-driven decisions based off of what we're seeing. So FulfillmentEdge has a web-based supervisor console that does visualize many aspects of the operation. It does predictions on when various work assignments and operators will be completed, what they're working on. And we're currently working on the ability to reassign labor where it needs to go the most, based off of outstanding work and those types of things. And as that analytics channel evolves, we're starting to see more and more opportunity to make better decisions and provide visibility to supervisors and warehouse managers so that they can start making operational improvements, maybe retraining methods, those types of things, all based off of this additional context that we can capture from the FulfillmentEdge client and feed back into the FulfillmentEdge server. And so what does all this mean? Ultimately, what we've seen through all of our customer pilots and deployments to date is we've seen a trend so far of an average of about 24% productivity increase. Productivity numbers are always a challenge simply because there's so many variations on what tool set and solution you're coming from and going to, as well as the various workflows that you may be executing. And so, we've seen customers that have gained, 15%, and we've seen some that have gained 35 to 40%, depending on, are they coming from a paper-based process or are they coming from, a standard, telnet or terminal emulation solution, those types of things, and also impacts on whether you're doing each picking or case picking, various sortation activities, those types of things can all impact that. But we have seen a very consistent trend to that average of 24%, and we're starting to kind of harden that up more and more with more and more customer data and information that's coming in. As I mentioned, training and onboarding time, we're eliminating over 90% of that training and onboarding time. Typically what we're doing is showing somebody about a 30-second video of what FulfillmentEdge looks like and what the workflow looks like in action, and then suiting them up and sending them out, and they're basically able to start going and picking on their own almost immediately. In one sortation use case, we did eliminate 99% of the training and onboarding time in kind of a repeatable proof of concept that we did with a customer. And again, we can do all this without changing your WMS, warehouse management system. There's no real back-end changes or disruptions there. This can run alongside your existing solution, so it's not something where you have to kind of deploy all your pickers with FulfillmentEdge. It is something that you can kind of start with 5 or 10 pickers and understand, how it fits into the operation, and so that you're not disrupting, product being shipped, because ultimately, these are ringing the cash register ultimately for the customers when something is shipped. That gets invoiced, and that's obviously mission critical to avoid any disruptions there. So I've talked a lot about FulfillmentEdge and that mobile client and some of the productivity and optimizations it can bring to the kind of picking and sortation use cases. I'll talk a little bit about some of the features and functionality of our head-up display. The model number of that is the HD4000. It is, an important part of FulfillmentEdge. We've seen a lot of benefits from a hands-free use case, and what we're learning is that visual information is very intuitive. It's very easy to understand, and that's kind of obviously, completely hands-free. So you'll notice on the side of this head-up display there is a cable. And so we do run a cable from the head-up display into a Zebra Android mobile device. So right now we're supporting the WT6000, the wearable, as well as the TC5 platform and the TC7 platform. And so this plugs into those devices via USB. I think on the surface that sounds like a bit of a step backwards in technology, but what we learned when we built our first wireless prototype is that, to make this enterprise ready, and specifically in warehouse environments, people needed to be able to wear it for a full shift, 8 to 10 hours. And when we were fully wireless, we just weren't able to achieve that. And what we found is that the unit was too heavy and it was too hot for long-term wear. And so by putting that cable in there, what we're able to achieve is offloading the head of everything that doesn't need to be on the head. And so that means that there's no batteries on the head, there's no wireless, Wi-Fi communication and data transmission, there's no processing power. And so what we've done by doing this is we've eliminated all the heat that comes with battery and battery charging, and then we've eliminated all the weight that comes with all those other components and offloading that to the mobile device. And now we've been able to achieve, that full shift use and wearability. And we're also able to achieve a lot of flexibility around how it's adjusted and mounted. Two main components to the HD4000 is a pair of safety glasses that it mounts to, as well as the optic module itself. And so if you order the HD4000, it comes as you see it here, with a pair of glasses and the HUD module, the HD4000 module to mount to it. It slides into this T-bar mount on the safety glasses. If you need that to support left eye, again, you can just slide it in from the other side. It takes, you know, five seconds to switch this from side to side. Supporting left and right eye is a critical component of this hardware. I think about 80% of our users to date have been right eye dominant, but you know, that leaves 20% that are left eye dominant, and putting this in front of the dominant eye is critical for acceptance. If someone's non-dominant eye can see this for long periods of time and their dominant eye cannot, you know, you could actually start to see some negative human responses there around eye fatigue and eye strain. So supporting left and right eye is critical, but then we also have this ball joint on top, and it's almost like a rear view mirror in a car, so that when you put this on, you can kind of grab that module, get it in position, and off you go, so that when you start your shift, it's very quick to adopt and set up for you. And then, you know, we have the appropriate ruggedization, 5-foot drops to concrete, and you know, it's also fully sealed, IP67. We didn't do that waterproof sealing for a use case. We don't see a lot of people with their face underwater in the use cases we've worked with, but more, and this is especially critical right now, given the current situation, is that's more from a cleaning and disinfecting perspective. You know, Zebra's been in the wearable space for many, many years and really understand the hygiene component of it. And so ultimately, this entire module can be fully submerged in an alcohol-based cleaning solution, can be fully disinfected, and then the operators can have their own pair of glasses. So that's a separate item that you can purchase on its own. You know, much more inexpensive personal item that can be purchased. People keep that item that can be cleaned in the same way, but it's their personal item. Anything that touches the face or the head is their own, and then the module is shared. And because it plugs into a mobile device, you know, that can be fully used in back-to-back shift environments, simply because the battery can be hot swapped in the mobile device that it's plugged into. So you don't need any additional charging infrastructure, anything like that in the environment. Also, because we're leveraging the mobile device for the application and the intelligence, you also don't have to get this on your wireless network. This isn't another you know, wireless device that needs to be certified and managed. There's no software to manage on it. And so from an IT acceptance and adoption perspective, it really is just a simple accessory that gets put into the operation and doesn't really require any additional management setup, those types of things. A couple of the other kind of key features here, we do have a head tracker, 9-axis sensor, that, you know, that accelerometer and tracker is able to, applications can use that for various things, and I'll show you in a second some of the FulfillmentEdge workflows and where we're leveraging that head tracker. And then it also has a forward-facing camera, and that's kind of the circle here. You don't have to order it with a camera. There are many environments that would not allow that camera to be there, so you can order the HD4000 with or without a camera. What we're seeing is, if we look at the HD4000 without FulfillmentEdge, there's many other customers, partners that are doing development with this technology for other use cases as well. So, for example, right now, with the COVID situation, we've seen a large ask from customers for remote expert, see what I see type of use cases. You know, you make a video call or some, you know, some other software solution that manages this. Someone at another facility or a central office can see what that person sees, you know, whether that's a maintenance, break fix type of solution, those types of things. So you can, you know, people that are not allowed to travel anymore can still provide expertise into certain remote situations by leveraging that forward-facing camera. And then the operator, kind of the hands of the operation, can see the other person in the head-up display. So it's kind of a video call to help extend that expertise out to remote areas. There's a few other use cases floating around for the HD4000 in the camera as well. We have a full software development kit and API set that you can adapt and extend an application to leverage this. You know, again, because it's an accessory, you don't have to write an application specifically for it. The only requirement is that it has to be an Android device and an Android application. But if you have an existing Android application, to extend it out to the HD4000, again, it's a couple extra calls to output images to it, as opposed to writing an application specifically for it. So we've seen many applications adopt this technology within a matter of, you know, days or weeks, as opposed to writing an entire application for it. So ultimately, we feel we've brought the first truly enterprise device, head-up display, to this space. You know, we've looked at the various requirements based off of our past history in this space to make sure that we understand, both from an IT perspective and an operational perspective, what it takes to stand up and support, you know, a device like this in the environment. The last thing I'll touch on quickly is really just focused on optic position. What you will find is that this optic sits almost in front of the eye. This is a see-through OLED display. And the reason we do that is, you know, some of the other devices on the market position the optic either above or below the eye, which, if you're kind of snacking on the information or looking at it briefly, that there is really nothing wrong with that optic position. If you were looking at a highly transactional environment and you're looking at this, you know, every 5 to 10 seconds, the eye movement of looking up or down is actually very unnatural and uncomfortable. And so by placing this in front of the eye, it has a perceived distance of about 5 to 6 feet from you, so the brain doesn't have to really refocus or adjust to see it, but it can reference it with it being right in front of the eye without it causing any lost vision or kind of blind spots to the operator. I noticed there's a question here about some of the examples of workflows that FulfillmentEdge can provide. So I'll get into those. I'll use that as a bit of a segue here into some of the next couple slides. And these are examples of some of the workflows that FulfillmentEdge is filling today, but certainly not limited to these. So, you know, one of the larger interest areas we've seen is from customers either running pick-to-light or exploring adding pick-to-light to their environments. You know, pick-to-light is a great solution. It's not going to get much easier than putting a light in front of a location that you have to go and pick to. The feedback we're getting, the two major areas that our customers are exploring alternatives is really because of cost, with pick-to-light really being expensive, not just to install, but to maintain, and also just the infrastructure and static nature of putting that in, and the lack of flexibility. And so what FulfillmentEdge can bring, and the screenshots you see on the right side of this slide kind of highlight what an operator would see. And so on the right side of each image is what the HUD image is, and what the operator would see in front of the eye. Anything that you see that's black is actually see-through, so don't think they're walking around with a big black screen in front of their eye. It is a translucent see-through image, and because it's an OLED, black is basically not there. And so what you'll see here is the operators are given visual guidance on where to go, you know, whether that is, you know, a different aisle, those types of things. And ultimately, you know, you're given going to an aisle, go to a pick facing. When you get there, you scan, you get a virtual layout of the pick rack that you're looking at. When you scan the right location with that barcode scanner, you get a green indicator. You turn around to pick to your totes, and you get the quantities that you distribute to the totes. And so ultimately, when we're changing screens, we're using that head tracker. And so, you know, ultimately, again, we're leveraging sensors and inputs to help control workflow to keep it completely hands-free, which is really critical. And looking at those various inputs and outputs to optimize the overall flow. Similarly, we have sortation, you know, bulk pick, sortation, and shipment sortation, and ultimately, you know, packages coming down a conveyor or bulk pick sortation into a put wall. You know, similar and same benefits as well. So you get visual representation and layout of where those packages need to go and update accordingly. And so operators can put this on and just kind of know what to do. And you'll notice that we're using really simple coloring. You know, green is good, red is bad. You know, yellow is work, and operators can kind of just put this on and know what to do. And with the barcode scanning, it's really accurate as well. Same benefits that we've seen elsewhere. There is a quick question here on screen sharing and mirroring. That is possible. There is no engineering development required. You can check a box on the mobile device and basically mirror what's on the mobile device in front of the eye. That's a great way to get started. There's obviously no development requirements there. My only caution there is simply that what looks good on a mobile device might not look good in front of the eye. So I would encourage to explore that as two separate screens, but from a starting point, yes, there is a checkbox that you can kind of do to do that. So that's the sortation use case. Again, very visual, very intuitive, and very accurate with ring scanning, with the ring scanners and other sensor inputs. And kind of overall pick and sortation use cases of FulfillmentEdge. So I will turn this back over to Raul at this point. I don't know if there's any other questions and that kind of thing. There was maybe one quick question about colorblindness here. That is a great question. I'll go back a slide here. If you look at this green check mark here, that was actually an update to the UI that we made. In this slide, you'll see there's no symbols over top of the squares. We did make a change to add a check mark, an X if it's wrong when it turns red, and a plus sign if it's where you have to put it. And so now we have full support for colorblindness as well. You know, even if you are obviously unable to see what those colors are. So that's the overview of FulfillmentEdge and HD 4000. I don't see too many other questions. Not sure how we're doing on time here, Raul, but I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So again, everybody, now that you've seen had a chance to see the great technology that Zebra's built here, you might be asking yourself, you know, how does Barcodes fit into everything? Well, you know, as one of Zebra's top premier solution providers, you know, our entities are here to kind of design, deploy, and support these types of solutions. We get them implemented, and then more importantly, we keep them maintained for you. So you can see there on the slide, basically, we can offer around-the-clock support if needed for all your deployed hardware. We do have developers on staff that are very familiar with all the OS platforms, and we can actually help you integrate these types of solutions into your existing WMS or ERP systems. And then lastly, we have a professional services staff that can help stage, kit, configure, triage, and repair all your hardware, including managing all your different mobile devices that are deployed with the hosted mobile device management software. So at the end of the day, you know, our goal is to partner with you to get you up and running, and more importantly, to keep you up and running with future-proof technologies like FulfillmentEdge and the HD 4000. So I don't see any additional questions. If you can go to the next slide here, Andrew. You know, again, I know we went a little bit over. So again, on behalf of Barcodes and Zebra, I'd like to thank you all for joining our webinar today on using hands-free technology to take mobility to the next level. If you have any further questions or would like one of our WMS experts to reach out for a free consultation or demo, feel free to reach out to your preferred solution provider that you see on the screen. These are all authorized premier solution providers of Zebra Technologies. Or you can feel free to reach out to me directly. Again, my name is Raul, and my contact info is. So thanks again, everybody, for joining, and I hope you all have a great day.